Hello and welcome to the Rose Rehash. I'm Jared Freid. We are here after every episode of The Bachelorette to recap and give out awards. Yes, at the end I'll be giving out roses and divorce papers to my favorite and least favorite people from the episode, but tonight it's about the fantasy suites. That's right! We're gonna get a little sexy! It's my favorite episode of the year. I love the fantasy suite episode because it's just so awkward. You have three people all dating the same one person, all with separate connections, all feeling like they might be the one, and then they gotta sit in the house together and be like, "Oh, so did you? She smelled good, didn't she?" So this is like a fun episode full of awkward moments and crevasses. So what I want you to do, I want you to comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Where do you agree? What do you disagree with? We're going to go through the whole recap, but I want you to comment. Also, if you're new to my channel, subscribe to the channel. I need the subscriptions. I'll consider that payment for this recap. So subscribe to the channel, comment below, let me know what you thought. Let's start out. We come into this episode and JoJo is going to talk Tayshia through the last few days. And it's like, I love The Bachelorette because they can't bring in like a real friend of Tayshia's. They can't be like, yeah, it's your best friend that you've known forever, because then that would be too real of a conversation. They bring in JoJo. They've met on like 3 red carpets. They've met for like 15 minutes, and all of a sudden she's going to come in and give her advice on the biggest moment of her life. Also, what the hell does JoJo know? JoJo's still engaged from when she got engaged on The Bachelorette. She's still sitting there going, like, what's JoJo going to say? Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a hard decision because, you're going to be engaged for like 3 to 6 years. You're probably not going to get to know his brother because he plays for a football team. Like JoJo can only give advice based on her experience, which is nothing like Tayshia's experience. So JoJo comes in, they have a conversation, then all of a sudden Chris goes to the boys. The boys are all sitting around, and this is a big moment. Who gets the first fantasy suite date? If I'm being honest, that's the one I want. Chris comes in with the card, he reads it off, and Ivan's going to get the first date. And you could feel Ivan's like, oh, phew, I get to be the first one. Oh, my God, I won't have to smell Zach C. I won't have to smell his old man perfume, old man cologne. So Ivan gets the first date, and Ivan's first date is very much in the vein of what's happened on this show. Every single date has looked like a kindergartner created it out of construction paper. Every first date looks like a diorama that a parent helped their third grader make for the next day that they were too late on, because they can't leave the hotel. So they come here and there's a bunch of ice buckets. It looks like a frat party in a yard. There's ice buckets. There's Chris Harrison comes out and lets them know they're going for a Guinness World Record. They're going to see if they can have the coldest, longest kiss. This is one of those moments where you start to go, hey, is the Guinness World Record book just something we shouldn't have existing anymore? Is this something that really is the dumbest thing? This is something that's in the book. Who did this before Tayshia and Ivan? Who's that couple that had enough time that wasn't on a TV show that was like, hey, you want to get in 40-degree water and kiss for like 5 minutes? Like who was doing that before? Like, for a TV show, it's stupid, but you can understand it. They needed something to do. They had nothing to do at the La Quinta. So they put down they get them into bathing suits. They're going to get in the ice buckets. And all of a sudden, Chris is like, I'm joined by my friend Paulie. And he is labeled as an ice bath kiss expert. Nobody would look good being an ice bath kiss expert. Paulie is probably the worst look for this. Nobody has ever looked creepier than Paulie. Paulie is staring at them kissing, just like, yeah, get in that bath. and I want you to kiss. Like, Paulie, I understand he's probably a nice guy. He's probably got a lot to say. I don't know why they brought him on. I bet you they thought it was funny. Sometimes I wish they would let us in on the joke, because you could tell Paulie's like, what, he's like some producer, or he creates he probably creates all the sets. And it's like, dude, just let us know he creates the sets. Don't make Paulie 7 times creepier. He already looks like the Mucinex guy. You don't need to bring him in and be like, yeah, he's our ice bath kissing expert. And then he just walks in. I've been living at this La Quinta for years, and I need you to start kissing, because I ain't never seen a kiss. Like, it was weird to see just Paulie, like, can't look good. Like, I'm happy for Paulie's wife and family. I'm sure they're happy to see their dad on TV. But for us, it's a little disconcerting, I gotta say. So they do the kiss, whatever. They come back to the date. I have to say, Tayshia and Ivan feel like a couple. They feel like they're getting to know each other. They talk about depthier things. Tayshia sometimes will move her forehead a little bit and look like she's actually portraying emotions every now and again with Ivan. They get to the end of the date, and Tayshia's like, gives Ivan the letter. This is my favorite part of the Fantasy Suite episode, because there's a moment where she gives Ivan the letter, and he has to read it as if, ooh, what's this? Ivan, every guy reacts to the Fantasy Suite letter the same way that I react to a waiter coming around with passed around hors d'oeuvres at a cocktail hour. Like, every time the waiter comes out with a new entree, I go, oh, what's pigs in a blanket? I've never tried this before. That's how every guy reacts to the letter. Oh, you want to fuck me, do you? I've never used this penis before. Like, that's the same. We are the same. I know that face. I know that act. That's why none of these Bachelor contestants are ever good actors. That's why Nick Viall was on a Hallmark movie. They were like, yeah, do that acting job you did when you got the Fantasy Suite letter. And so we move on to the Fantasy Suite, and Ivan and Tayshia are going to have a night in an airstream. Okay. Listen, I understand the kitschiness. I understand they're in the desert. They're near, where Coachella is. This is very much in the vein of where the La Quinta is. But you gotta think, this is not the dream scenario. Hey, here's something cute. Why don't you guys go have sex in this airstream that used to belong to a couple of junkies? Have fun having sex on a futon. They go to the bed. The bed is a single bed. You're going to have to sleep like this the whole night. Your whole arm is going to be numb. It's a bad situation. They kind of screwed Ivan. There's not even an extra room to go fart in. If he wants to use the bathroom, you're going to hear that in the bedroom. Hey, where are you going? Oh, I'm going outside for a second. I just have to hold one ass cheek so that I can fart, because there's nowhere to hide in this airstream. So Ivan and Tayshia have their night. We come back. It's going to be Zach's night. Zach gets his card. It says something about going exploring. For whatever reason, Zach then repeats the word exploring 7,000 times. He's like, and every time Zach says the word explore, it gets a little creepier. It gets us a little bit weirded out. He's like, yeah, I just can't wait to explore. You know what I mean by explore? I just want to really explore. It's like, Zach, just say what you want to say. You can't wait to get naked with this chick. You're so excited. We don't need to hear the word explore. You're not a 25-year-old girl on Bumble with her dating profile being like, I just want to go on explorations around this great city of ours. The word explore is used 1,000 times. And then Tayshia and Zach are going to go on a body painting date. They're going to paint their bodies, and their bodies are going to make the art on the canvas. I don't know. It's something your kooky aunt would do for a date. And now you start to be like, man, Ivan got screwed. Ivan got a date where he's got to go in an ice bucket and have his dick shrivel up. And now Zach is sitting there in paint body land doing My Body is a Wonderland with Tayshia. They're making out all over the place. This is the creme de la creme of foreplay for your Fantasy Suite date. So they get done with this date, and you can feel they're really connecting. Zach and Tayshia have a thing. It is a different thing than Ivan and Tayshia, but it feels like it's just as strong. So they get to this dinner date. Their dinner date is crazy. It's on a bench, which nobody wants to side sit for a date. It's like when you sit at the bar, you want to be at the corner seat. When you sit at the bar and you're at the seat next to each other, now you're talking like this. It's a bad angle. Look at the angle of my face when I'm from this angle. This is the date angle you want to be at. Nobody wants to. Look at this date angle. Look at it. I'm 7,000 pounds now. That's not the angle I want to be at the night where I'm hoping that she'll invite me back to her place to have sex. Hey, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying getting to know you. I'm falling for you, Tayshia. I'd be like, yeah, I'll fall for. I'm sure you're falling for me after 3 steps because you can't even run a mile. That's what I would think. So they're on this date. They get towards the end of the date, and Zach is like, I have a confession. Now, Zach has so many skeletons in his closet that Tayshia actually is like, what's the confession? Zach's like, I got to tell you something. It's like, if you're a guy like Zach, listen, everyone has a past. I'm proud of Zach for coming out of all the things that he's been through. But you got to be like, he prepares her as if like, hey, I know I've been to rehab and I've been divorced, but I have one more thing to tell you. I've been my real name is Barry, and I'm actually out in the desert right now because I'm hiding because I've murdered someone. Every documentary on Netflix is about me. Like, that's what it felt like he was preparing to say. He really says, I love you. And this is the point, because Ivan does say, I love you on his date. And Tayshia says, I'm falling for you. Zach says, I love you. And Tayshia comes back with a full, I love you. This was a big difference from Ivan's date. Interesting. So they get done with this. She gives Zach the card. He does the, oh, what should we do? I'd like to go for an exploration of your pussy. So then they go back to another suite. This time, no airstream. They go to actually a suite. Like, this is, if I'm Ivan, I am fucking angry. You send Ivan to a college dorm room single bed, and then all of a sudden Zach is getting a 2-floor suite. Zach has places to fart. If I'm Ivan, I am irate. They go back to the room. They and then they come back in the morning. We come back from commercial break. They're having morning coffee and they're having brunch and they're jumping on the bed. And it's like, this is a totally different view of the date than we got from Ivan. And these are two people who had good dates. So we're getting this whole morning, and we're gonna say, we're jumping around, and they're having this lovey-dovey thing. They coffee cheers as if anyone's ever done that. And there's a moment where you go, wow, this is a more involved date than Ivan got. This is more camera time. There's something to be said. Now they come back to the place, and it's Brendan, Ivan, and Zach, and they're all kind of sitting around. And you could tell Brendan isn't taking all this well. You can see Brendan starting to lose it a little bit. He's starting to go, she has been on 2 dates where 2 guys came back in the morning. I guess I'm number 3. And it's like, I don't blame him. You don't want to go last in this situation. They go on the date. Brendan and Tayshia's date is a meeting with Neil Lane. Neil Lane is famous for making all the rings of all the Bachelor and Bachelorettes. He's the guy you meet with when you're going to propose to the person on the show. This is crazy. Neil even says it. Neil's like, I've never done this before. And you can blame it on they're in quarantine, they're at the La Quinta, but still, this isn't the date anyone wants. You don't want to meet with the guy who's going to make the engagement ring for the woman that you might not get engaged to. And you could see it. It's all over Brendan's face. It felt like they were testing Brendan. It felt like they were like, let's see how far we can push this guy. This was like a form of torture at a certain point, because they're like, oh, look at this ring. It costs this much money. Do you have the money to afford this ring? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It felt like Neil and Tayshia were just sitting in Brendan's face like, are you ready? So is this good for you? Do you like rings? Look at the size. You should buy one. Neil Lane's the guy. And Brendan, the whole time, is just in shock. He's just sitting there going, yeah, this is good. Brendan looked like how I look when my girlfriend's like, what do you think of these jeans? And I just don't know what to say, because I know when I say I think you look good in them, she goes, well, you think I look good in everything. So there's no right answer. So Brendan just did the move that I do. Like, no, love it, hate it, good, bad, whatever you think, I think. And it's like, that's not a fair place for Brendan to be. They end the date with Neil Lane. It's a little bit awkward. They're going to go to a dinner. They're sitting at the table. Brendan basically breaks up with Tayshia. Brendan gets 2 minutes into this dinner and he's like, listen, I want to be farther along than I am. He's already seen that she has connections with 2 other guys. To me, it's a good look on Brendan. If you're not totally sure, they put you in front of 30 rings and they say, he's the guy you're going to talk to if you propose. And you're kind of face to face with that moment of like, is this what I'm doing? I don't blame him. Now, I'm watching with a very special lady tonight. I'm watching with my lady of the night. Some would call her my girlfriend. And she was mad at Brendan. She did not like that Brendan would end it here. And it's like, and I get that he's taking up a spot from someone else, but when you know. That is, you don't have to sit here and fake it. At this point, Brendan, get out of here. Good for you. Be honest. That's hard enough. So Brendan's sent home. Tayshia, again, shows emotion the minute someone leaves. She never gets emotional before. It's always after they go. She breaks down in a very dramatic way, and it looks like she's like kind of playing it up for the camera. We get done with that date, and we go back to Tayshia's apartment or wherever she is. She puts out another brunch as she's done the whole season. And all of a sudden, the door is Rachel Lindsay. Rachel Lindsay is here to give guidance. They sit down, and she goes, so what's with the guys that are left? Tayshia kind of breezes over that Brendan just skipped town. She goes, I got Zach and I got Ivan. And then she goes, are there any guys? And then Rachel, as if she was prepared to give this statement, she goes, are there any guys that kind of you miss? And she goes, well, and Tayshia doesn't even say I miss Ben. She goes, well, Ben was hot. Well, then you don't miss him. You have 2 other guys who you've told you're falling for, and now you bring up Ben. You're like, well, he was hot. That's not the same. All of a sudden, we see 2 red shoes in capri pants, and who is it? Ben. Ben is back. Ben goes to Chris Harrison. I don't know when this happened, that Chris Harrison became this like dad figure that you had to go through to be able to go talk to the woman that just dumped you. So he knocks at Chris Harrison's door. Chris brings him in and he goes, what's on your mind, kiddo? And Ben's like, I love her. And he goes, do you love her? And he goes, I love her. He goes, have fun. Good luck talking to Tayshia. Ben shows up at Tayshia's door. Knock, knock, knock. Tayshia shows up. And Tayshia goes through a weird set of emotions. Ben comes in. At first, Tayshia looks mad. She leads him to the couch. And then she puts her hands on her face and she looks like she's going to cry. And then she gets serious. It's a weird, she shows like 6 different emotions. It's almost like, and I have to say, and then Tayshia walks away, goes into the producer's room and is like, what am I supposed to do with this? And this seems to be a running theme. We have only had half a season with Tayshia. The running theme of the season with Tayshia is she hates being the bad guy. It seems as though she wants these decisions to be easy. She doesn't want to be in a position where she has to look bad. It does feel like Tayshia is playing for another career. It feels like she's kind of making sure she gets out of this beloved. And it's like the only way to be beloved is to be honest. And it feels like we're getting a little bit of dishonesty out of Tayshia because even her facial expressions, are you mad? Are you happy? Are you sad? What are you? Ben is here. Give us something. She runs away to go to the producer to go, what am I supposed to do with this? What can I ever do with this? And it's like, I don't know what you could do with this. Why don't you give us a real emotion? That's our episode. That's our show. We end with Tayshia wondering what to do next. And honestly, I'm wondering myself. Let's give out some awards. Go down. At the end of my Rose Rehash, we give out awards every episode. And the roses are for my favorite characters. Let me get and the divorce papers are for my least favorite characters. Let's start with the roses. I got to give the first rose to Brendan. Brendan, good on you. Good on you. You were honest. That is a breakup that there's a million women out there that would enjoy. There's a million women out there that would love that. Hey, I like you, but I'm not all the way there with you. I'm going to say goodbye. That is a more classy breakup than 90% of people are getting. What's he going to, what would you rather? Him go, I'll just get to the end and then we'll kind of text and then I'll get weird and then I'll disappear. No, he was a man. He gave him, he let her know where he was. He let her know it was hard for him. You're not going to look like in the long run, he'll look like a good guy. The next rose goes to Ivan. Ivan, I got to say, I feel for you, buddy. You had to sleep in a Ken and Barbie sized bed inside of an airstream. You had no place to even fart in that place. You had to hold it in the whole night. And then you also had to be in an ice bucket to be able to kiss your girl. You got the worst date in the history, and you made lemonade out of lemons. Good for you, Ivan. The last rose is going to go to Zach. Zach is good, too. Zach was classy. I like that Zach said something very specific. He said something that a lot of guys have trouble saying on this show, on the Fantasy Suite episode. He said, I know I had a good date. That's all that matters, is my date with Tayshia, and my date was great. He had the blinders on. That's the only way you can go into fantasy night, because two other guys are having their own experience, but you can't speak for that. It was a very healthy, loved his perspective, great date out of Zach. Okay, we're giving divorce papers. My first set of divorce papers is going to go to Tayshia. Tayshia, it feels like you're trying to win every moment, and you just can't do that. We need to see your honest emotion. When you look at Ben and you get mad that he's there, it felt like you were mad that a hard decision came up instead of you getting to look good with that closing moment of you crying when they're leaving in the car. The only time you cry is when they're leaving. So I'm not sure because right now we're getting a consistent thing with Tayshia where there's no real connection of emotion to the moment. The only moment she nails is when they're leaving, because then it's a good one tear down the face, camera on you, music blaring. She has her moment. It feels like Tayshia's here for moments. It feels like sometimes she wants to be the good guy so much that we don't get an honest moment. The next set of divorce paper, it's going to go to Paulie, our ice bath kiss expert. Paulie, at some point, you got to let us know who you really are. It was a little weird. We got this big dude, older guy, just watching two young people kiss. He's saying, oh, no, I like what they're doing here. Like, what? Paulie, I don't know why you're here. It was a little, it threw me for a loop. And it was like the Mucinex guy showed up to let us know how, and then you give them the trophy. What's the trophy? Where did you get a trophy to give to these people? The last divorce paper, going to go to the La Quinta. La Quinta, you are now out of every engagement trip ever. They had to bring another hotel room to your hotel to give someone a fantasy night. That's not a good look on you. They needed to have a different hotel room other than the one that already existed at your hotel. If that's my hotel, I'm like, oh my God, we've lost the engagement business. We've lost the honeymoon business. We've lost the wedding night business. It's just, I don't know how you come back from this. I don't know who stays there and takes it seriously anymore. That's our Rose Rehash. We're here every night at the Bachelorette. We'll be back tomorrow after the season finale. Boom.